So first off, this feels like a stupid question, but what is going on during your free time during these troubled times?
Free time.
Uh, I mean, if you have free time, what are you what takes up your free time?
Explain. No, dude. I mean, that's the weird uh paradox of the of quarantine, right? Like, it
Sure.
feels like you have all this free time, and then you end up filling it with. I end up filling it with
Mm,
work and new projects and stuff. So I feel busier than I've ever been. I feel like my
mm.
day is sort of wedged back to back all the time. So free time is like, what do I do? I come home and I eat and I hang out with my wife and we watch YouTube videos.
Mm. Is that like, do you consider yourself like a workaholic in that or something like that? Because I'm
I'm addicted to
the opposite.
workahol. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
I yeah, I mean, yeah,
Mm,
regrettably yes. Um,
gotcha.
I don't. I'm not like a proud workaholic. Like, I don't. I wish I was not.
Sure.
I wish there was definitely a point in my life where I felt comfortable relaxing, but it's sort of like doubled back on itself, and now
Mm,
I'm just trying to do as much as possible um, to sort of optimize the things that I am doing
yeah,
for whatever reason. I mean, the reason is so that I can pay off my house. That's that's really. It's like
sure.
I'm scared that the world is going to end, and then I'm going to have to foreclose on my house. So I just want to get it done.
Right. No, no, I totally feel that. I do try to make sure after a certain point in the day that it's like no work. Um, but also that's because I love free time. And obviously some days and some weeks are busier than other weeks, but I try to carve out that time for sure. Um, but I also kind of admire when I hear people go like I think that takes like I don't know if it's like a discipline or but to make yourself fill your time and to be productive. Uh
Yeah, I
feel
think
like
it's
I could be
discipline for
better about
sure.
that. Yeah.
Well, better to what end, right? Like, I mean, again, like, I'm doing it so that I can pay off my house, right? Like,
Sure.
and there are projects too. I mean, I just started a channel recently called Shuffle Master where I stream and I open cards and
Mm.
stuff.
Yeah.
And that's something that, like, yeah, it has become somewhat profitable. It's not exactly like killing it for me, but it's
But it's
really,
fun,
yeah,
right?
it's something
It
that I
seems like
enjoy.
you are in yeah, like something you legitimately are like excited about,
Yeah,
which
I'm very lucky to have entrenched myself in an industry that is fun and I do enjoy working in. Um, so
mm,
there's that aspect to it. But yeah, like, to what ends for me is like, I just want to be able to not worry that I'm gonna have to move in with my parents at some point. Um,
right.
but the free time aspect too is funny that you say that, because I too am very disciplined about giving myself free time.
Okay.
The issue is, like, can I enjoy that free time? Am I using it?
Without feeling restless or
Yeah, exactly. And
I
again,
see.
there was a period in my life where I was able to, but it's sort of gotten to a point again where now I have to relearn how to relax again. And I think it has a lot to do with quarantine, because
Mm,
and it's a thing that's going around. A lot of people are saying, like, um, a lot of people are saying, what are they saying? They're saying that it's revealing the actual extroverts and introverts in our society. People
sure.
often proclaim, like, I'm an introvert, and then during quarantine it's like, I gotta get out and see friends, and it's like, okay, are you really an introvert?
Mm,
um So the same thing sort of happening with me. I sort of knew I was extroverted in some way, but I always thought, like, I was a quiet kid, and I hid in my
Yeah.
room a lot. Like, yeah, I must be. But this quarantine has been particularly difficult for me because I so much of sort of the energy that I get, like creatively or um, just life force in general, I get from other people, and seeing other
Mm-hmm.
people and having experiences with other people. Um,
Right.
so that has been, I think that has been a contributor towards, um, I don't want to say like relapsing, but I guess that's probably a fitting term of where
Mm.
like I don't feel like I can relax because it sort of feels all, there's no flow to it. It all feels like it's coming
Right.
in, as opposed to like, oh, if I'm, with friends and I'm playing a video game or watching a movie or something, then it feels a little bit more like there's a flow, and there's a coming in, and then there's a going out. There's a give and a take,
Yeah.
as opposed to just like I'm just consuming media for for 6 months. Like there was even a point, sort of at the beginning of quarantine, Doom Eternal came out, and I was very excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when we had first made a shift in my primary channel, Game Grumps, where
Mm.
basically the whole team was like, well, we're just doing this and we're waiting it out, so everyone just quarantine and take it easy, and we're sort of scaling things down right now. So I did have a lot of free time. I had a lot of days where I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't doing anything, so I was like, all right, I'll just fucking sit at home and play Doom Eternal, like whatever, fucking impromptu vacation. um, and there was a point after like 3 days of playing that game almost exclusively, um, where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And it's not that I didn't want
Mm.
to. It's not that I didn't want to keep playing Doom Eternal. There was just something in my brain that was saying, like, this is too much. You,
Sure.
you need to stop and do something else. Which I don't know is if it's healthy or not, and that's something that I think I've been putting a lot of time examining in during this time, and especially going to therapy and whatnot.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I think with quarantine, obviously it's a very strange situation for everybody. But being confronted with this seemingly almost just never ending sort of length of time where of this weird solitude. Uh, I'm the type of person, I don't know about you, but I am very like, even with my this is, you're gonna learn a lot about me in a second. Like for my fucking like uh media consumption, I'm a very like list oriented, very like I love checking things off lists, that sort of
Oh
thing.
yeah, I feel that.
Uh
I'm right there with you.
and so yeah, for the past couple of years, I had like this goal for myself of every month, try to like, I don't know, watch at least one show a month if you can, finish one game if you can, just different little things to try to like, because there are plenty of times where you just go, I don't feel like doing anything, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in, what am I in the mood for? You just scrolling around your shit, not knowing what to do. Whereas having it be more goal oriented and like, oh, you got, if you finish this show, you finish it for the month,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing.
Gamifying
That's
it.
something that really helped me a lot back then. But then with quarantine, I filled all my goals for the year, like with the time that I had,
Wow.
very quickly, and then you're just left with this sort of well, fuck. That was never something I ever could have done in any other year. But because this year has been so strange, and because usually I'm like you in that I I don't know whether I necessarily call myself either strictly an extrovert or introvert. Like here's a question for you. Like when you are let's say at like a party, you don't know a lot of people. What is your natural sort of like mode? Are you the one who's like very talkative, or are you more withdrawn? What is your sort of, I guess,
Right.
natural state in that
It
situation?
it depends. It
Mm,
extremely depends. I can easily be the
mm,
wallflower, and I can also easily be the guy that talks to everybody. It really
sure.
depends on the mood I have going into it. But the thing that I've
Mm,
discovered that is the most consistent about me in terms of uh, I don't even know how to say it. The thing that's most
mm.
consistent about me at parties that I've discovered is I do a thing called doorknobbing. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's this idea that if you are in a situation and you're a social situation or whatever, where
Mm,
there's sort of things expected of you, a party or whatever, you're expected to talk to people, you're
sure, sure.
whatever. When you're sitting in it, you feel uncomfortable sitting in it
Mm,
and sort of engaging in it. But the prospect of sort of that you're leaving, that you're sort of out the door,
mm,
empowers you to be more open about the situation that you're in.
mm,
Because you have an out. You've already like given yourself an excuse, like I'm leaving. Um,
mm,
so that's something that happens with like therapists a lot. Like people won't open up until they're about to leave, and then they just start unloading, and it's like, oh, but we're
sure.
going. Um, so I am guilty of this. It's something I work on profusely, but the upside is that it works for me at parties, even if I trick myself. So if I show up to a
Mm,
party and then I do like one thing, I show up and I like talk to, like I had a goal. I was like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to talk to this one person. I'm going to meet with this one person. I'm
mm,
going to have a conversation and I'm going to leave. If I sort of do that to myself, and then after that happens, and I'm like, all right, I'm leaving now. I'm going to go say bye to a bunch of people. Then I have a bunch of really engaging conversations with people. And I end up
sure.
staying at
Okay.
the party for like 2 hours, even though I've told myself I was leaving 2 hours ago.
I see. I've never really thought about the like tackling that so goal minded or specifically like that's interesting to me. I to answer the question for myself, I feel like over the year, well, not over the years. I think naturally, unless I'm around, if I know everybody at the party or if I'm very comfortable, then that's a very different situation. Obviously you're much more comfortable around people you're good friends with. But if I am around a lot of strangers and I don't really know a lot of people, I do tend to like really clam up.
Mm,
Uh, and I feel like that's also, if I'm being totally honest, as time has gone on and like, uh, so I'll go to like a party and there's a lot of creative type people there, and in a lot of situations it's like they will know who I am, but I don't know who they are. I don't
mm-hmm.
know if you have any issues with this, but for me, it feels like a sort of like uncomfortable imbalance of like I don't know. Do they expect what do they expect from me? I the my sort of natural state um, is I don't want to say not withdrawn, but it's pretty low key. I
Mm-hmm.
think, and I think a lot of people, if they only engage with me through, let's say, YouTube or whatever, then there's definitely a different perception of me. I think they might be expecting more
Right.
from me, and I don't ever feel the urge to like I don't know
So you
play up to it.
so you feel like it's like
I
performative almost.
I really do dislike being performative. And when I sense that other people are being performative around me for whatever reason, maybe that's just a natural state, but it is kind of like a turn off for me. Like I
Mm.
would much rather engage with somebody on a just sort of chill, natural conversation sort of level. Whereas I don't have the urge necessarily to like be the you know center of attention or like the or try to like be a different person than who I really am.
Yeah.
It and I've so sometimes people will be like, oh, you're a lot like more low key, or oh, were you like mad? And it's like, no, I'm not mad. uh I'm just I don't just low key kind of guy. I mean, I can be very excited. And I
Right.
can be very like passionate.
Yeah.
But it's not. That's only if I'm naturally feeling it. I never feel the need to like I guess be who other people might expect me to
Sure.
be.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's a
Yeah.
self-worth thing, right? Like
Mm,
depending on how I'm feeling about myself, it'll be easier or more difficult at a party situation, for example. Like
mm,
if I'm going into a party and, the implication there is that I'm Aaron from Game Grumps and people sort of have a semblance of that understanding, it's a lot easier for me to sort of mingle because I think there's less like, what am I doing here? What's the point? Do I belong here or not? Do I
mm,
deserve to be talking to these people? When of course, on a surface level, you deserve to be talking to any person.
sure.
But there's definitely a sort of self-worth barrier or meter that's like
Mm,
constantly going up or down in my head of self-judgment
sure.
when I'm around other people. So, if I'm at a YouTube party or whatever, it's a lot easier for me to talk to other people because, A, I have something in common with them, but B, because, I know what my worth is based on, the numbers of the channel or, just
Mm,
the reputation that I have and that I've built.
mm, mm,
So it's much easier to just feel like I deserve to talk to this person, so I'm just gonna do it. Um,
mm,
Whereas as a human being, then there's the more nebulous judgment that obviously shouldn't be judged in the first place, but like, am I funny enough? Am I cool enough? Am I interesting
mm.
enough? That stuff is a lot tougher to tackle. So weirdly, I'm sort of the opposite. In like, if somebody knows who I am, it's a lot easier for me to have a conversation with them because I sort of
Oh,
feel
interesting.
like, all right, I've already, like, I don't really have to like work to,
Yeah, you don't have to like, hi, I'm, they if they know who you are, it actually makes things easier for you.
yeah, because then I can just
Oh,
jump
okay.
into it. And like, I'm not, I've learned a lot over I was never raised in like social environments or anything like that, so I didn't um I don't have a natural knack for conversation or
Mm,
getting along with people. So it was stuff that
mm,
I had to learn. I read like many books about it because I did find it very problematic to be at parties and stuff like that, and I wanted to get
sure.
better at it, especially because of the job that I'm in now. It
Mm-hmm.
requires so much to be networking all the time and knowing people. Um, so I've learned the tricks of how to have conversations that flow with people and to be able to communicate with people better. But at the same time, my instincts for conversation have always been very strange.
Mm.
And I always ask weird questions, and I always ask like stuff that's a little too deep, even if I shouldn't, and stuff that's kind of off the wall. And I think that I've I don't know what the point is of me saying that, but
Do you have an example
I
of
found it to
of one of those types of questions?
um that's a good question. That's it's yeah,
I mean, not to put you on the spot,
well,
but I'm just.
it's a weird thing where like I always have, like, if you ask anybody that's in my life regularly now, like, when you met Aaron, like, what did he say to you? They're always like, oh, I remember so clearly what he said to me, and I'm like, oh, you do? And then they'll just,
Mm.
yeah, he asked me like, I think Vernon I think Vernon had a famous one where when I first met him, I asked him, we were on some shoot or whatever, and I just asked him like how his poops were today. Um, and
Okay. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it's not like I'm like trying to be funny or anything. It's just
No.
I'm just like, I don't know. I was kind of curious how his bowel, because I was thinking about it for myself or whatever, and I was just kind of
Sure.
curious what other people were going through that day or whatever. Um, so yeah,
Let me ask you on that note, like because I something I can get very passionate about topic wise is do you use a bidet in your home?
yes.
Isn't it like the most life changing? Like, why doesn't everybody use a bidet sort of
Yes.
thing?
I because I had so I rented a place that was I rented a place in Glendale. Glendale's very heavily Armenian, and I guess it's an Armenian thing to have a bidet more often than other cultures.
I did not know that. Okay.
So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's my landlord.
Well, as far as I know now about Armenia, I'm just gonna write that down in my mind.
He seemed to be really stoked on it. So maybe I'm I'm just stereotyping because my landlord was Armenian and the things that he had a grapevine and everything. Like the house was very it had a lot of like Armenianness about it, which was awesome. It was very cool, and I learned a lot about the culture as a result of that. But it had a bidet, which I'd never had in my life. For like the first like year I lived in that place, I didn't use it because I was sort of scared of it.
Okay.
And then I started using it. It was like a separate one too, which was really strange for me. But then I started using it, and I was like, this is the best. And then I saw a Twitter post from somebody that described it so cleanly, and then I never went back ever since. And it was like, yeah, dry wiping is disgusting, because if you imagine you got like poop on your arm or something, like, would you just be satisfied with like taking a paper towel and like wiping it off? No,
exactly.
You would fucking like douse it with soap and water. So like, why are you doing that to your butthole?
Exactly.
And I was like, God, that's so true. That is so true. And then I never ever, like, if I have to, if there's like a sink in the bathroom, I just have to like wet the toilet paper. Like, I can't just dry wipe and be done with it.
I just whenever I have to take a shit at somebody's place that doesn't have a bidet, I just feel like a fucking animal, like a fucking caveman. And they're not, you know, and we don't have like a super expensive one. Like, ours is pretty cheap, and I'm just like, guys, you can it's not that expensive for like a solid bidet, and it will change your life. The first time I used one was in Vegas. Actually, I was in a like I'd never used one before. It was a separate one as well in the suite, and I was like, huh. I was very like, ooh, this is my like like having sex for the first time or something. I was like, ooh, I get to try the bidet. And I don't know about you, but you know, before COVID, you know, I imagine you traveled quite a bit, right?
Yeah, dude. I mean,
yeah. I also was traveling quite a bit, and hotel bathrooms have shitty ass toilet paper, and like, you just it just sucks. So once I experienced, you know, a bidet in a hotel room, I was like, this is the best thing ever. And then, you know, when I went to Japan and went and experienced those bidets, I was like, my God, it is truly living. That is, I don't even need that level of luxury, as long as it just,
I mean, it's
has
not
enough pressure to blast my ass, then I'm happy, you know?
It's not even that, because now that I don't live in that house that I described earlier, I've got another place now, and we put the toilet seats on the toilets. We with every toilet in the house has the little with the buttons on it. They're not that expensive anymore.
Yes, right.
Because it used to be like, it was like the Toto toilet that like lifted itself up, and it was like fucking thousands of dollars or whatever. But like, you can just get a seat that you just plug up to your water line, and then boom, you get a sick ass Japanese style toilet for like not that much money, and they just sell them on Amazon. Like,
exactly, yeah, that's where we got ours. Yeah, for not for very much at all. Everybody listening to this, for God's sake, get a bidet, please.
I want to give you a tip when you're in those bidetless situations, and it's going to sound disgusting, but to me it's much more cleanly.
Sure.
If you don't have a sink nearby or anything, and you do want to get some wetness on your toilet paper, you just spit in it, dude.
You are not the first person to tell me this. I don't. Something about, it's not even the spit. Something about spit. I just don't like spit.
Well, yeah, our mouths can get pretty fucking disgusting, especially.
I'm not saying you love spit, but it's like, I have like an extra, like, kind of like, I don't know. I will consider it, maybe. I'm the type, man, I had really steered this a certain way, but before bidet times, I was the type to overwipe,
Mm.
get that nice, fucking bloody ass sort of thing if you're not careful, like so,
Yeah.
because I just can't have like any of it, any trace of
Yeah.
it. So once bidets were in my life, it was just
Oh, it's
like
great. I mean,
yeah,
the only reason that I wipe after a bidet is just to dry it off. I don't do I won't do
exactly.
the air dry thing. Like some of those toilet seats have like the dryer, and it's like that. I don't like that. That feels like you're blowing
Mm.
hot ass smelling air at my butt. Like let me just dry it
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
normal person.
Anyway, speaking of my bleeding asshole, how's I was actually wondering about not to completely change topics again, but I tend to do this. With the new channel, the collecting cards thing, is that something you've always been into? Or is
Yeah,
this a relatively new thing?
I grew up on Pokemon
Mm.
and yeah, and then there was like another phase where I think Diamond and Pearl, I got back into it briefly, and
Mm.
Susie got into it as well, and we would have Pokemon matches and stuff. But yeah, it was just something. We did a brand deal on Game Grumps for
Mm.
Magic the Gathering, and so I had to learn how to
Mm.
play Magic the Gathering, which I sort of always wanted to do, but never
Mm.
just felt like I had the time or whatever. And
Sure.
in learning how to play it, I got immediately obsessed with it, and
Mm.
it clicked all the boxes in my head, that of things that I love, like collecting stuff, um, you know, playing a game in person with cardboard. Uh,
Yeah.
the game is very engaging, so it just immediately like dived right in and just got super into it, and I was already opening packs all the time just because I loved it. And I was just like, man, what would happen if I streamed? So I just started streaming it with my phone, on my
Mm.
old cartoon channel. And people were showing up, and it was people were putting in super chats, and people seemed to really like it. And I was like, fuck, man, I should just do it a little more often. And remind me later, computer wants to restart. And after it just became like a regular thing, and I loved doing it. It made me so happy to stream it. I just got all the materials and put together a set, and now it's a thing. And for me, it's not just about cards at this point. It's almost like an outlet to
Mm.
talk to people, because Game Grumps is so insular in a way. Like it's just me and
Sure,
Dan
sure.
hanging out on a couch, and like we don't have an audience that we can like talk to, and it's like you don't read the comments, like that just ruins your day. um
Right, right.
so like it sort of felt like there was a barrier between me and the audience, and being on a stream where I'm on camera, and it there's a way better flow. There's
Mm.
it's almost a dance that you're doing with the audience that I really really like. And I've been entertaining on camera or on mic at the very least, half my life at this point. And
Mm.
especially after doing a bunch of like live shows and stuff. So it's just a place that I feel very comfortable in, just sitting in front of an audience. So that gives me something that I wasn't getting before. Um,
Sure.
and that's super fun. But the original question was about trading card stuff, and yes, I'm
Yeah.
completely down the rabbit hole on that. And I know that you and I have sort of tweeted back and forth about this, because I know that you are particularly into Pokemon, I think.
Oh yeah, I do like Pokemon quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Um.
fantastic to get some games in, and to, and to talk collections.
Oh yeah, I mean collecting is a big problem for me. Like I do, or I mean, for me, I think the biggest thing right now is the board games, which I'm very curious. I know we've like kind of talked about board games in passing before, but I'd be curious to talk about that in a second. But as far as the cards go, there was, I think, a couple years ago. So like as a kid, I collected Pokemon cards, and I knew how
Mhm.
to play the card game. And do you play all the card games you collect, or are
um,
there some that you just collect?
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! I just collect right now.
I see.
I have an intent. The problem is we're in quarantine right now, right? Like, so
Sure, sure.
if this were normal times, I would know how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I would have had friends over that know how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And we would have played. And it's like there's
Mm,
only, I still Magic's my number one game right now. So
sure.
if I want to play Magic, I do it over Spell Table, which is
Mm.
for I don't know if you're familiar with it, but at least for the people at home, it's like a website that they built specifically for quarantine. That
Oh, okay.
it's just like you put in a webcam and you point it down at your table, and then
Oh shit.
you can click and it'll scan the cards and it'll show you like what the card is, and it keeps track of your life total and everything. And
What the fuck, really?
yeah, it's great.
Oh my god.
But at the same time, like it's just not the same.
Sure.
It doesn't feel the same. Like it's kind of hard to see the webcam footage and stuff. And but at the very least, it's a way that you can play paper Magic with people remotely. Um,
Huh.
so yeah, I'll show you. Do you
I
play
mean, I'm
Magic?
not gonna. I have played Magic only once or twice. I like it. I think it's a great design, and I've
Okay.
played like some of his other games. I was definitely more as a kid. I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
But like only like classic Yu-Gi-Oh. Like after a certain point, I don't understand it anymore. I never kept up with it. But anything that was like in the first two seasons of the show, I don't know how familiar you are with the show, but
No, not at all.
oh, okay. I grew up with that, so I fucking loved Yu-Gi-Oh. I got really into that. Dual Links is an app that I got. It's like a simplified version of Yu-Gi-Oh that I
Yeah.
got really into for a while. I actually played that on my honeymoon, like a lot of the downtime because we went to Disney World, so I was just playing that constantly. Fucking love. I mean, the Pokemon. I definitely don't play it anymore. I still know how to play. But what I did end up doing was I got sort of the bug, and I don't know, like some years ago, I randomly bought like a couple. Like oh, I gave away my cards a long time ago. I bought some at a con, just like oh, this is like nostalgic, and then immediately I was like, well, I could buy a couple more, and then I there's that realization of like you're an adult and you have income and you can buy all the cards you wanted as a kid.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do was I bought and still have every Pokemon card from base. How familiar are you with the sets?
Yeah, I'm very familiar.
Very familiar. Okay. So I collected basic up to Neo. What the fuck? What's the latest? What's the last gold silver generation? Neo
Neo
Destiny, Neo Genesis. I forget the name.
Neo Revelation, I believe.
Neo Revelations. That's right. Yeah. I decided to just collect all of it, and it was a thing of just going to pawn shops and like.
Wait, so you have a
this.
full Neo Destiny and Neo Genesis collection?
I think so. Yeah. Let me. I could check.
Jesus. That's where the sets start getting really expensive, because like base set, like everybody played base set and collected base set, but I feel like Pokemon cards were going out of style when the Neo
Sure.
series was coming in. So like foil Umbreon and shit is like really really expensive.
Oh, I know. There were because what I would do was I would start raiding the local pawn shops or like the local card shops, and I had like my checklist of like on my phone of okay, I need this, and sometimes you would find really like rare finds or whatever like in the bargain bin if you were lucky, but after a certain point, shit, maybe I'll just go. Want me to go grab my binder real quick?
I mean, I would. Are you kidding? Dude,
I will grab it.
if we were not in
It's right over
quarantine
here.
right now,
Hold
I'd be
on.
like, I'm coming over.
Let's see. What do I have? I have a lot of cards actually. So yeah, I'm looking through this. I collected, all up through Revelations.
Jesus. The rules.
What the fuck was it? The palm tree one. The
Oh yeah.
Southern Islands.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Southern Islands. I also, when I was collecting, I've kind of stopped, but who knows when it'll happen again. I'm really into the full art cards.
Yeah,
I like those quite a bit. The EX cards are fun. I also went and collected I think all the promos as well.
like
Um,
original Black Star promos or like all promos.
uh, God, what were they?
This is interesting for anybody,
I don't
except
give a
for us.
shit. I've never cared. Yes, the original Black Star promos. Yes.
Wow.
I because it was this thing of like, well, if I'm gonna collect them, gotta catch them all, bitch.
You
Like I
gotta catch
gotta
them all.
have them
I
all.
am I am definitely a binder guy. Like I play Pokemon. I play Magic and I collect Magic
Mm-hmm.
cards so that I can play them. Pokemon, I do play Pokemon, but I collect them so that I can collect them. I do have set
Mm-hmm.
binders. I have I have a complete base set. I have a near complete jungle. I'm missing 2 cards. Near complete fossil. I'm missing 2 cards.
Which
Um,
cards, by the way? I'm just curious. If you know offhand, you don't have to.
Fossil. I remember non-foil Jolteon. I'm missing.
Man, the whole foil non-foil shit was so irritating to
Yeah.
like.
Uh,
Yeah, I was not a fan when they started doing that, but
Jungle. I don't remember what I'm missing. It was a foil something. And then of course
mm,
the next goal for like, you know, um, uh, the original 150 sets is to get the first editions. So like I'm halfway through
mm.
Fossil, like I'm a third of the way through Jungle, getting
Oh, you're
first
getting
editions for
first editions
everybody.
on everything.
I mean, it's just one of those things where like
Yeah. Oh
it's like
shit.
I'm done. What's next? Oh, I guess I could get all the first editions. Like so. It's
Oh, I didn't go that far, but I
okay.
also collected a lot of other shit. I you know what I did and I stopped doing, but I did like for a while was I was like I'm gonna get one card of every Pokemon, and I
Oh,
did that. Uh, and that was its own interesting task because it's like some Pokemon there's only like one card of,
yeah,
and it's
sure.
really expensive.
Well, how do you choose if
Uh,
there's multiple cards? If you get like a
Usually
really
the
shitty version of like a card that has like a really amazing version of it, are you like, that doesn't count?
no, I think for that goal, it was just to collect one of each. But if I liked one better, I would just get that one.
Oh, okay.
I would look up on like Bulbapedia or whatever.
Yeah, the funny thing is, the thing about collecting for me is, I definitely have the impulse to collect. I have a lot of collections. But I
Mm,
think the thing that hit different about card game stuff was that it's all so contained,
mm,
in, a binder or whatever, a shoebox or whatever. It's all there and it's all in one
sure.
place. I have the other probably like quote unquote impressive collection that I personally have is my D Arts Dragon Ball figure collection. I have
Mm,
almost every D Arts Dragon Ball figure collection, save a couple San Diego Comic Con exclusives, um,
wow.
of which I have most of anyway. But
Mm,
but the thing is, like, they're like some of them are like in a drawer, and like a lot of them are on display, and it's just kind of, it's like not
mm,
all together in one place.
I see.
And it's the same thing with like Transformers. I had the first Transformers collection that I completed was the Transformers animated series. I got every single Transformers animated figure, but that's so many figures that
Mm,
it's difficult to like display an entire collection like that.
sure.
Whereas, base set one, it's all in a binder. There it is. You got it. It's there.
Yeah.
It's done. I have a couple Charizards I'm getting graded. But like for the most
Mm.
part, it's just like, there it is. There's the collection.
That is nice. I mean, as speaking as someone who collects fucking board games, like, I have to have the big giant like IKEA shelf, like what the 5x5 Kallax or whatever. It's just this behemoth of a wall, and I don't even have room. Like, My office is filled with the games I haven't played yet. I have like stacks and stacks. Like, so I know exactly what you mean. And I also did heavy anime figure collecting for a time. And I still like, it has to be something really amazing if I buy something now.
Yeah.
Um, but that takes up a lot of space too. Uh, but I've managed to call it down to like a lot of the essentials. Whereas, when you're starting out, or I don't know about you, but when I was starting out anime figure collecting, it was definitely like everything. You just want to get everything. Just it's this, treasure trove of all this shit. And now it's like, it's got to be like pretty special if I'm gonna, because I gotta make room for it. And
Yeah, exactly. If I go to Japan or something and I'm like overwhelmed with I always got to consider like where am I going to put it. That's I always consider that. I've got this big display in my side room in my house that has all these figures and manga and stuff on it, and it's this very cool artistic display, but like it's full. And I got to consider like if I'm getting something, where am I going to put it? I can't just be like, well, I'll just go on my desk, because like I keep my desk pretty down to the essentials so that it doesn't get cluttered, so that I can sign documents on it or whatever, or feel comfortable sitting down and getting some work done on it. Because if I have too many tchotchkes on my desk, then I don't want to use my desk anymore, because I'm afraid I'm going to knock something over, or I'm going to get distracted, because that was the thing that appealed to me at first about Transformers was I watched Beast Wars as a kid and I played with Beast Wars, but I'm sure that was the main thing. But I just liked having a figure on my desk that I could fiddle with. And this was like pre fidget spinners, So
sure.
It was having a Generations Optimus Prime that's like pretty simple to transform, and he's like a sturdy figure and he looks good in both forms. Like I loved that. And that was the appeal. And then, of course, it got completely out of hand.
Oh, I know how that. Yeah. I'm just trying to think. What else do I? Manga takes up a lot of space in terms of collections.
Yeah, I try to cycle that stuff out.
Yeah, I should. I have gotten rid of stuff. Especially like when I moved, or whenever I moved a couple times, I would, get rid of some stuff, but
it comes and it goes for me, because I had a Kindle phase.
Oh, okay.
So I had all of Naruto, the actual physical manga, and then I read like the first, I don't know, like 10 volumes in book, and then I discovered Kindle because I was traveling a lot. And like I didn't want to bring fucking 15 volumes, which is what I ended up digesting when I was traveling. I could just put them on a Kindle. So I got the whole of Naruto on Kindle, and then I just read the rest of Naruto on the Kindle. And then because I had done that, and I had this giant shelf of Naruto, I was like, well, I should get rid of these Naruto manga, and I did. And like part of me is like, I kind of regret that a little bit. Like I do prefer reading the physical book as opposed to on a Kindle. But at the same time, if I had my entire manga collection on one little device, I probably wouldn't complain.
Yeah.
If somebody was like, you got to throw it out and use it on a Kindle, I'd be like, yeah, all right, whatever, it's fine.
Right. First off, I love reading while shitting. Going back to shitting again. I love reading on the toilet.
Sure.
So for me, I just like having a physical book. That, and I don't know. There is definitely like a collector's side to me now, but I won't collect like for example, I read One Piece, but I read that on the iPad like weekly. I don't collect that because that would be it's like over 100, or not over 100. It's almost 100 volumes of that.
Jeez. Yeah, that's another Kindle one for me. I don't think I would ever get the actual books of One Piece.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Oh, there's a couple things I'm interested in asking about, but before I get into just talking about more collections and stuff, and is there anything you want to talk about, or you have any questions about? If not, don't worry about it. Like, I'm not. You don't have to think of something. But if there was something, I would like to. I'd be curious.
Uh,
Otherwise, I'm just gonna ask you about fucking collections or something.
no, man. I mean, it's nice finally being able to talk to you. I always felt like you were a dude that I would get along with really well. I feel like we got a lot of similar
Mm,
interests. We're in the same fucking industry. I mean,
sure.
you're a very prolific voice actor at this point, and I am always very impressed by everything I hear by you, and always very tickled when I see that you score a huge role. Um,
I appreciate that.
yeah, man, you're a
Um,
fucking star in that field. I can't imagine not seeing you, in the coming years being some fucking main character in some SpongeBob-esque huge show.
I guess that's also something I've been, because I think you're quite an impressive voice actor as well, actually. Um, and I'm not just saying that. Like, I do mean that honestly.
Oh,
And
stop. Go on, but stop.
and I'm sure a lot of people have said this to you, I'm sure, but like, back in the day, man, the your voices in Flash cartoons and stuff. Even that, like, was a big inspiration for a lot of people, including myself. So it means a lot. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's fucking
I
wild
guess.
to hear about that stuff too,
Mm,
because I hear that quite a bit actually,
sure.
which is always very flattering and very uh, awesome to hear. But it always surprises me that it comes out of the mouths of people who I go to their Twitter profile or whatever, and it's like, hey, voice of this main character in this show, and it's like, wait,
Mm,
what? Like, I'm not even there yet because I moved when I was 21 or 22. I moved to California to pursue voice acting, and then right when I got
mm,
here, it was a bit of a struggle at first, but I started, doing the YouTube thing full time.
sure.
Um, so it was very prolific for me, and uh, I sort of put voiceover on the sidelines, because this was
Mm,
something that was giving me joy, and it was giving me a living, and it was giving me a decent
sure.
living, and it required a lot of my time. Uh,
Yeah.
so I didn't pursue that for almost a decade, seriously, until
Mm-hmm.
I realized, like, hey, this is something I do really enjoy. A decade later, it's still something I really want to do.
Sure.
And then I found myself an agent, and now I'm doing the whole like audition game and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
but most of the roles still that I've gotten are because of literally people who watched my cartoons a decade
Mm,
ago and now have their own shows and
mm-hmm.
are like, dude, I would love for you to be on this show. Like, that's still the bulk of my work, are
Mm-mm.
fans who wanted to get me on a project.
Mm-hmm.
The only jobs that I've gotten from playing the audition game were not the things that I auditioned for. It was one of those is one of those situations where you shotgun a million auditions, and then somebody gets back to you and is like, we liked this guy's voice but for something else.
Oh,
um
yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
so I've gotten several of those, but never, if I auditioned for fucking Superman or whatever in some new game or some new show or whatever, it's like, I'm not gonna they're gonna give it to who you would expect to get it. So I'm not getting
Mm,
those roles.
mm-mm. Is I guess for voiceover, uh, is it something you? I guess my question is, and you don't have to prioritize one thing over the other, but do you have like a main focus creatively? Or do you just view yourself as someone who, uh, let's let this siren just keep going as loud as possible.
They're coming for you
Um,
finally.
yeah. Yeah. Do you have what you consider one main focus, or just several different paths?
Um, well, so as a kid, I was very I didn't have a focus. I was just a creative kid. I liked
Mm-hmm.
to voice act. I like to draw. I like to animate. I like to write music. I like to write stories. I like to do poetry. I was all over the map. And
Sure.
it was only when stuff started catching on in a certain field that I was like, okay, I should focus on that and just be
I
disciplined in
see.
that field. So I still have, the sort of instinct to be creative about any circumstance. I like thinking creatively and critically about how to approach certain things when it comes to any sort of form of art. Um, I'm always thinking in that way. I had a series that was um, quite popular on YouTube called Sequelitis, where I went into like the design of
Mm.
games and stuff, and I stopped doing that. And it wasn't because I was not interested in doing that anymore. It was just because I had other shit going on.
Sure, sure.
If I didn't have anything else going on, and at the time, video games were like big for me, I probably would keep doing Sequelitis. Um,
Mm.
so that's just how my brain works. I just like being creative about certain things, and when I'm put in a situation where I sort of have to be creative about a certain thing, I can do that. I can apply
I see.
that instinct to what I'm doing.
So for you, it's more of like just a desire to be creative in some way. It doesn't necessarily have to be this or this or this. It as long as you are expressing yourself and challenging yourself creatively in whatever field, that is good for you.
Yeah, I don't know
Is
if
that?
expression is a focus more than it is challenge. Yeah, I like a challenge. I
Mm,
like getting into it.
sure.
Sinking my teeth into something, and that journey of like exploration and discovery and understanding and satisfaction from applying a sense of understanding is one of the most satisfying things to me. So I think that's what drives me in creative fields, and that's something that's been great about Shuffle Master. Whereas with
Mm,
Game Grumps, it's sort of this established thing, and the fan base wants a certain thing, and we've been
mm,
around for 8 years. That there's we can try to wiggle in one way or another and sort of optimize and figure stuff out, but for the most part, that kind of pisses off fans.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whereas and the downside to that being that the platform it's on, YouTube, is so ever changing, that it makes it difficult for us to pivot in a direction of like, okay, well, this isn't working anymore, even though that was the thing to
Mm,
do 2 years ago. Let's
mm-hmm.
figure something else out. It just doesn't. It's tougher with something that's big like Game Grumps. But with Shuffle Master, what's been really fun for me, aside from that, I get to fucking open cards, is like, okay, how do I go about titling these videos? How do I go about thumbnailing these videos? How do I go
Mm,
about picking the subject matter? How do I go about using the information that the analytics are giving me about what I'm opening and like the types of things that I'm doing? And like, can I clip these bits and put them on Twitter? And like,
mm,
just playing that game is fun for me. I find
mm,
it incredibly interesting, like what connects with people and what like gets traction, um, and as long as I don't, I don't feel it's important to sacrifice any sort of integrity of what I'm doing creatively with it, in terms of the show. That's another thing that I've sort of learned along the way too, and in talking about Game Grumps as well, is all of that sort of optimization or like being creative or discovering something about how to make videos perform better or whatever. It's all in the front end. When it comes to what Game Grumps is, that's never changed. It's always been
sure.
exactly the same because it's a good show, and
Mm-hmm.
we're good at it and we like doing it. So like that,
Right.
and it's sort of the same thing with Shuffle Master a little bit. Is like, I've already found the thing that I like to do, and I'm really good at it, and it's fun. Um,
Mm,
and I'm sure like over time that'll evolve slightly in one way or another. But like, what I'm really looking at is like, okay, what's what subject matter is connecting with the audience, what's, you know, thumbnails are getting people interested, and like what questions am I posing in the descriptions or whatever, you know, stuff like that is super fascinating to me.
Okay. And I'm sure there's also just the fact that it's a new thing, right? You get to start watch something grow from, you know, the ground up again. And
Yes,
also
building something
with
is
a
very intoxicating.
it's very fun, right? Seeing those numbers. I mean, for me, it's about numbers going up. I love seeing the numbers go up.
Mm-hmm.
But also
You,
with an early
by the
audience.
way, I sorry to interrupt, but
Oh yeah, sure, sure.
I look at your shit and I'm like, damn, this guy gets it. Like he's got your videos, man. They get out there. It's fucking like all the flavors of Oreos and shit. Like it's a fucking genius concept, man. Because I never, you know, I always sort of viewed you as, you know, not to pin you into a corner or anything, but like you were
No,
the
no, go. Yeah,
dude
yeah.
who was a really good voice actor, and also you had these sort of short videos that would go viral on social media.
Sure.
I had never really examined your YouTube channel, and then when I took a look at it, I was like, oh, this dude's like a fucking heavy hitter. I didn't really put that together that you're like fucking playing that game as well, and you're kicking ass at it.
Kicking ass is and I'm not trying to be like self-deprecating here, but it's interesting. I So when you say like you're very interested in like what resonates, like and I think that's really interesting to hear that, because as somebody who just I just don't pay attention to any of that. And this is not meant to be like, oh, what the fuck, like a humble brag. Like I legitimately am just like putting out stuff that I like to do. And listen, there are plenty of videos that I put out that just get nothing, but I'm also aware of it. Like I do board game reviews. I know nobody fucking cares about the board game reviews except
Right.
like a very small percentage of my audience.
Well,
Uh,
you should have a whole different channel for that then.
I should, right? That'd be what the smart person would do.
Well, that's what
But I
YouTube,
just
that's how YouTube would benefit that. Well, I mean, if you're putting out the thing that I don't want to get too into it, but
no. I know exactly what you're talking about. What's interesting is that the algorithm actually does not hit me that hard if I diversify my stuff, and it's weird. But I think it's just sort of the nature of certain videos do really well, and that makes it so that the other videos, can exist in the same space,
well,
but not sync it.
I will argue against that, because
Oh,
I
okay,
think
sure.
you're thinking about it from, you know, a metaphorical like left side, and I'm thinking of it from the right side, where you're saying that your it's not hurting your big content, and your big content is helping the lesser content, we'll call
Mm.
it. But I think it's the opposite in that, like, I think your big content is hurting your lesser content, because there is
Interesting.
an audience for that kind of content, but you're not delivering it to the audience that wants it. So by
Mm.
creating a new channel, the algorithm would know how to deliver that very niche content to the audience that wants to see it, and not be delivering it to people that want to see fucking 25 flavors of Oreos being opened, you know?
Sure, sure, sure. I kind of disagree, just because I feel like if I had started a new channel with just the board game reviews, like if I'm being totally frank about my board game reviews, I don't think they're anything super special. They're just me just kind of like talking about games and just reviewing them.
You
I
may not
don't
think they're
think,
super special.
but I do know that because they're on my main channel. Listen, as far as board game YouTube goes, the board game YouTube channels think I'm like a bit like my YouTube videos are like a big hit, because it's not a big, even the best of the best. Like I consider, like, I don't know how much you know like about board game YouTube, but like, are you familiar with like Shut Up Sit Down?
No, not
Or
really.
it's a YouTube channel. They do really like amazing like board game reviews,
Mm-hmm.
and like I think they're like the best of the best in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
creativity and whatever, and the reviews. And I mean, some of the reviews get big numbers, but it's still like pretty like comparatively to, like, let's say like a channel of my size. But I think no, I mean, no, I know there's also truth to what you're saying, because uh yeah, there is gonna be like people who just don't give a shit. I understand that,
But
but also I find that people also I get a lot of comments and stuff from people who go, I subscribed for one thing, but I started watching these other ones, and I actually like got into that. I don't know. I think with my channel, as long as I put out stuff that I legitimately enjoy doing, like the whole like eat fucking 40 Kit Kats, like this is stuff I just wanted to do, and now I'm giving myself the excuse to do it because I'm getting paid to do it.
right.
And I'm also not the first person to come up with that idea. It was just something I saw or thought about, like, I've always gone to like a grocery store and be like, man, there's a lot of fucking Oreos. What if I just bought all of them? And then I was like, well, why don't I do that? And then
Yeah.
and that those videos happened to like be a big hit. And it's something where I think with my channel, I try to make sure that I have to enjoy it, bottom line, and then if it's something that resonates, then it's a win-win situation. Whereas like with the skits, like truth be told, I kind of got a little burnt out, and then I just decided I'm gonna focus on something else, and that is what kind of keeps me sort of sane in that space. Because I guess also for me, YouTube was never something I thought I would ever have as a job. Like I thought that was like an impossible thing. Like I remember there was a time where I was like, 100,000 subscribers is impossible. I don't know how anybody does that ever. And so this sort of like weird snowball accident over the years has kind of left me in this position of like, well, I guess I'll just keep doing it, but I will do it on my terms, even though I know that if I like, let's say, played the game better, the channel would be much more successful. But I think for me that was never a goal. It's just kind of like a happy accident, and I'm enjoying it, so I'm just gonna keep doing it that way. Like, like I don't know, it's just stubbornness, I guess, and like a sort of I don't know. For me, the voiceover acting was always like the dream.
Yeah.
That I've always been striving towards with everything that I've done.
Oh yeah, it's the best.
And then the YouTube is like, oh, okay. I mean, if you want like to watch, if you are interested, then all right, I'll do that.
Well, I think that's important, and that's something that it seems to me the way that you're talking about your work doesn't is it's important that you're enjoying yourself and that you're using YouTube as an outlet. And I think when you are saying, like, for example, you're comparing your board game videos to another board game creators, and they're like clearly like, oh, that's the top board game creator, and it's like, yeah, okay, maybe they are, for one reason or another, but the fact of the matter is I'm sure there are tons of people, thousands of people that are watching your videos and don't like that other guy's videos. Like, your videos are in a different category because they're yours and they're your voice. And it's not necessarily like a competition where, let's say like in the Magic the Gathering space, right? Like there's like the two big dudes. There's Tolarian and there's Game Nights, right? And Game Nights is like sponsored by Magic, and they have like this huge production quality, and people would say like they're the tippy top, right? But
sure,
that's not necessarily like the goalpost. Like I have come out with a style of content that isn't necessarily like anybody else's that's out there yet, and it's sort of carved out its own niche that wasn't there before. So it's not something that anybody was asking for, but it was something that people were interested in once it was there. And I think that is probably true of your content as well. And I think that niche has a better opportunity of reaching people if it has its own room to breathe. And the reason I say that is because the algorithm is better at discovering new audience when something is a lot more consistent.
Oh yeah, yeah.
your channel, for example, appeals to, and it's and I'll give you a perfect example of this, and it's Shuffle Master, because when I started streaming card openings, I did it on Ego
Mm,
Raptor, because Ego Raptor has, because one, I didn't have any other outlet other than Game Grumps, and that it's just not Game Grumps content.
mm,
But two, I had, 2 point whatever million subscribers on that channel already, so I started streaming on it, and immediately I was getting thousands of people watching me open cards.
mm,
Um,
mm,
but also, what was happening is it was plateauing at that. It was totally stagnant
mm.
at those numbers, which were fine
Sure.
numbers, but I wasn't it wasn't growing that brand, right? Um,
Mm.
and a lot of people were showing up in the chat and being toxic because it wasn't animation, and they were
Yeah, right.
old fans
This
from
is what
8 years
I signed to
ago.
subscribe for. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Once I had moved over to its own channel, obviously I wasn't getting those views from the beginning, but the growth was way, 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 way higher. And now that I'm streaming on Shufflemaster, even though I don't even have 100,000 subscribers on Shufflemaster, I am getting way more
Mm,
views and engagement on those videos than I was when I put them on Egoraptor. Um,
mm.
just for the very fact that the YouTube algorithm knows what to do with it. And the upside to that is that so many of the viewers of Shuffle Master are also Game Grumps viewers and stuff. The YouTube algorithm realizes that, and it recommends it to people that are likely to watch Game Grumps
Sure.
stuff. So Shuffle Master stuff gets recommended on Game Grumps. It's always putting feelers out there, but it's able to do that because the content is super focused, and it
Mm,
understands
mm.
what this what this content is, what it represents, the kind of people that watch that content, and the kind of people who watch other content that's similar to it. When you're putting content on one channel that's all kinds of different content, the algorithm doesn't really know what's going on. The idea is a YouTube channel is supposed to kind of be like a Netflix show page, where
Mm.
you go on a Netflix show page and you know what you're going to get regardless. And there's one channel that I always use an example in this situation, and that's Red Letter Media, where
Oh yeah,
it
yeah.
seems like they're this weird outlier because they have all these different formats and they all do really well. But the truth is they only have one format, and that's these funny guys sitting down talking about movies.
Sure.
It might have other names, Half in the Bag or Best of the Worst, but in reality, you're getting the same show every time you click a Red Letter Media upload. Um,
Right.
so that's an easy gateway into other formats. But when you have channels that have like 3 or 4 different formats, and they're like different types of shows, you have like a channel that has like a podcast, and then has like, a 2-minute sketch, and then has like an animated video that's 10 minutes. The algorithm doesn't know how to feed that and find new viewers for it. And
Sure.
that's why I think if you're putting board game content on this channel that's primarily, sketches and stuff, that it's actually hurting that content in the long run. And also the upside to that is that if you're getting a lot of fans that are migrating over, that are cross subscribers, that are saying like, I like this guy's content over here, and I also like this board game content, then people who watch your heavy hitter content that's getting a lot of views are probably going to be recommended your board game content a couple times, to
Mm.
see if they're also interested in that, because the algorithm knows that they're related. So
Sure.
there's honestly like no risk to focusing content on one channel or another. And that's all I'll say about it in terms of like hammering in on it. I just wanted to, I didn't feel like I was being clear enough about my reasoning in that.
Oh no, and everything you're saying like absolutely makes sense. And I actually am enjoying you're clearly very passionate or like very interested in like all that, how like the analytics and stuff, and I can sense that. And I it's interesting to hear you talk about it.
Well, it's fun in my opinion, because it's fun to sort of see. I don't know. When I was a kid, I always imagined like, wouldn't it be cool if you could? And this is just an example. If you had a brain that could just like get a scientific answer on something right away. So if
Mm.
you were walking around a town, you're like, how many people here would give me like $1 right now if I asked them? And then like, you know,
Mm.
everybody around you would like light up that would give you $1 right now if you asked them. Like, since I was like 6 years old, I was thinking about that shit. So there's just
Sure.
something very appealing to me about knowing that there's some kind of system that's like always learning and growing
Mm.
and figuring out like what's the most optimal way of doing something, and being able to sort of use that to your advantage. And
Mm.
and the best part about that is it's boosting quality content. I think when people associate like gaming the system, they think of it as like this sort of vapid concept where, you know, you're the content is second to optimizing getting clicks. But I don't look at
Mm.
it that way. I look at it as you're already making the content. Like, you are good at making the
Sure.
content and you make good content. The point is, you know, there's a huge difference between 10,000 and 100,000 views. And
Mm-hmm.
the difference between that could be a thumbnail, you know, it could be a
Sure.
thumbnail and a title. Because, you know, you see a video and it's just like review number 17 of this game, and it's like, well, I don't know what this game is, and number 17 seems super, you know, uninviting, and like I haven't watched the first 16 and I don't know what this is, so forget it. And versus like, you know, best board game I've ever played, and it's like, oh, what's the best board game he's ever played? You know, like
Mm.
that's, I mean, that's a really generic example, but
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
it's still the same video regardless. Like, it's the same content.
Yeah. It's just a way to like how to dress it up or make it more appealing. No, I totally see the appeal of that for sure. Honestly, I wish I could keep talking for longer, but I actually have to wrap this up because I have something in like 5 minutes. But
Oh, that's right, I
I
forgot
will
about that.
say, oh no 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 no! I will say and this is gonna sound phony, but I legitimately really enjoyed talking to you, and I would love to like shoot the shit again sometime. Doesn't have to be recorded, you
Why does
know.
that sound phony?
Because I guess you're like, wouldn't you? Well, why would you say you didn't like talking to somebody? But you know what I mean. But yeah, no, this was good. Thank you for coming on, man.
Hell yeah. That was I'm glad that we finally got to connect in some way. I really do feel like if quarantine didn't happen, that we probably would already be friends and we'd be hanging out all the time. So I hope that when this is all over, we can get together and play some fucking physical board games and stuff.
Man, I didn't even talk about fucking board games. Listen, I will chat up your ear about board games sometime
Hell
because I'm
yeah.
always looking for more people to play with.
Have you played the
Um,
Bloodborne board game? I've been meaning to try that.
no, do you have it?
I do, yes.
I'd be willing to try it. I will play anything. Like I will play anything once.
Hell yeah.
So we should play some. And I have just a disgusting pile of games I need people to play with. So
You know, I have
uh,
an idea of something that we could collaborate on that I'll talk to you
okay,
about some other time.
sure, okay, cool. Sounds good. All right, man. Thank you. I don't really have a sign off or anything for this, but thanks for listening, everybody. And where can we find you?
I got my main channel, Game Grumps, youtube.com/Game Grumps, and I also have my channel where I open cards called Shuffle Master, youtube.com/Shuffle Master.
All right. Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man, it was great.